If you're tired of feeling repetitive or trapped in a box on the fretboard, then today's video will get you playing in exciting new ways you might have never tried. You can do it with two of the easiest patterns on the guitar, and by the end of today's video lesson, you will know how to sound more musical and create new and interesting phrasing ideas for your soloing. These simple patterns are called the major and minor diagonal pentatonics, and you're going to be stunned at how simple it is to use these oftentimes overlooked shapes. By the way, if you're just getting started with soloing, make sure to download my free beginner soloist handbook that I put together. It's packed with all sorts of scales and arpeggios and explanations thereof, so that you have these helpful references in one place. The link is in the description below and it includes what we're covering today. What leads most guitarists to sounding trapped or repetitive is the standard minor pentatonic shape. This one here. Now there's obviously nothing wrong with using that scale shape, but it's been done to death, so the phrasing ends up sounding the same and it keeps players in the same area of the neck. And if you don't learn the other four pentatonic shapes, you don't end up connecting to other parts of the fretboard. Players do try to break out and learn the other four standard pentatonic shapes. Nothing wrong with those shapes either. But when you can cover the entire fretboard with the same little pattern, why learn 5 different patterns? We also want a fresh approach to the neck that covers more territory and is frankly easier to create something musical. Diagonal shapes are clearly the way to break out of ruts and start sounding musical again. Let's first look at the diagonal minor pentatonic scale shape or pattern. The minor pentatonic scale consists of 5 notes, the 1st, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 7th of the minor scale. This scale shape is just using 5 notes from the complete natural minor scale. It looks like this. We'll do this in A minor. So we're going to start with 2 notes on the low E string, and the second note of the shape is going to be our root. So here's my A. So I'm going to play a whole step behind that on the G, and then I play the A, just those 2 notes on the 6th string. Then we move to the 5th string and we play 3 notes. 3rd fret, 5th fret, 7th fret, or the C, the D, and the E. And that's the entire pattern. That's the 5 notes of your minor pentatonic scale. And as I said, this one is the root. So if we know that shape, we just repeat that shape again to add another octave. So we go down to the 4th string and we play the 2 notes. The 2-3 pattern is what we're going to do. So 2 notes here and then 3 notes on the 3rd string. 2 notes on the 4th string, 3 notes followed on the 3rd string. Then we'll play the exact same pattern, but shift up a half step for the tuning difference on the B string, and we'll play 2 notes here, and followed by 3 notes. Always keeping in mind that the second note of this shape is our minor root that we're targeting. So this is an A, this is an A, and this is an A. Here are all 3 connected. Now the great thing is you can play this over traditional minor keys as well as rock and blues pieces and have no issues. It works just like the traditional minor pentatonic that you've already used before. The nice thing is you're only memorizing one small 5-note pattern and repeating it in its octaves like I was doing. That makes it easier to focus on fewer notes and also makes it easier to think about using it in different locations on the neck. It's also easier to connect small patterns together when they're the exact same pattern over and over. Simply copy and paste the exact same 5-note pattern, the 2-3 pattern, over and over, and you've got another octave. Let's try it over an E blues piece where I'll simply be using E minor pentatonic the entire time. So this shape. And as you can see, E was the second note of the shape. An octave, another octave. the diagonal major pentatonic scale shape or pattern. The major pentatonic scale consists of 5 notes as well: the first, second, third, fifth, and sixth of the major scale. The scale shape is using just 5 notes from the complete major scale, and it looks like this. So we'll try this one off of C on the 8th fret, and it's the opposite of the minor pentatonic. In other words, instead of doing 2 notes, we're going to do 3 notes to begin with. But in this case, we actually begin on the root. So I'm on the C here on the 8th fret. I'm going to play 3 notes on this string, and then go to the next string and play my 2 notes. So the exact opposite of the minor pentatonic. Then you do the exact same thing though. You copy and paste, go to the next set of strings, and I'm going to play 3 notes here, followed by 2 notes. Then I shift for the B string tuning difference. So up a half step and play my 3 notes, followed by 2 notes. Now, just like the minor diagonal pentatonic, the major pentatonic is also easy to memorize and it's easy to use. When you learn it, just stick to 1 octave and use it over a major key, for example. As long as all the chords in that particular song or chord progression that you're using are in the same major key, you can stay in that major pentatonic. Now, if you want to follow the major chords, you can do that too. And what I mean by that is, if it's playing on a C and then switches to an F chord, you can then, if I'm playing the C right here, and then the F chord's playing, yes, you could switch to the F right here. But it's not necessary because those are in the same key. I would stick to something simple at first and not try to overcomplicate playing this scale. Here it is over a C major chord band. Now you can hear that keeps things very major and happy sounding the entire time. And I did play through 3 octaves just to demonstrate how I was piecing those together, but when you practice that, I would limit it to 1 octave until you get accustomed to it. Now, something I should mention, if you want to play the A major pentatonic scale over an A major blues, it's not as straightforward as using the minor pentatonic over the entire thing like you could. You could, if you have an A blues and you play a minor pentatonic the entire time, or the diagonal like we're discussing today, you can do that. It's a little different when you use the major pentatonic. You can play the A major diagonal pentatonic over the 1 chord in a blues, and it sounds great. But if you go to the 4 chord, which in this case would be D7, and you try to play that same shape, it could sound a little rough because we get a C natural in that D7 chord, and you're adding a C sharp right here. So you're going to get some dissonance happening there. One thing you could do though is you could simply play the minor pentatonic when you get to that 4 chord. And then when you go back to the 1 chord, the A7, you can go back to your major. So major pentatonic on the 1 chord, minor pentatonic on the 4 chord, and then over the 5 chord, which in this case would be E7, you can do the A major, and it's fine there too. Now the minor and major diagonal pentatonics are easy and actually force you to limit yourself from playing an entire scale box up and down across 6 strings. And limiting your scalar movement stops you from sounding scalar and forces you to focus on things like rhythm, slides, bends, etc. And that makes what you play much more interesting. Now, I recently did a limitation practice video. If you want to learn more about how to play melodically with fewer notes, you can watch that here.